everybody. Welcome back to another edition of How in the Heck is Ohio State going to replace this guy? This is our series discussing the ways and the people that are going to be involved in Ohio State replacing their departed starters. 16 departed starters from their national title win, the national title team last season. And so we are discussing each of those guys that have left and how Ohio State is going to overcome that, who's going to replace them. Just recently posted a video of how Ohio State is going to replace Will Howard, so you can find that in the stream in the playlist if you've not yet seen it. This is the sixth in the series discussing these departed starters, and I wanted to today talk about Denzel Burke, cornerback, and how the Buckeyes are going to replace him, because throughout his career, I think Denzel Burke has been a pretty polarizing guy who, as a true freshman in 2021, started every game for the Buckeyes, kind of came out of nowhere and won the job a little bit by default because, let's be honest, the cornerback situation when he arrived was not good, but also he played well as a freshman, had high expectations as a sophomore in 2022, did not go as planned. It was not his best season. In fact, it was his worst season. Still good enough for him to start and be an okay player and be a good player. You're starting cornerback at Ohio State, so a 2-year starter, he can't be all that bad. And he wasn't. He just had some rough moments. And then 2023 again he was a first-team All-Big Ten guy in 2023 as a junior. Has always earned postseason accolades. In 2021 as a true freshman, he was a third-team All-Big Ten guy. And as a sophomore in 2022, he was honorable mention. Then first team in 2023 and then third team this year. And throughout his career, he's played really well, but he's also had some games that have maybe just, that's what he's remembered for. And you can talk about the Oregon game from this past season, 2024, the first Oregon game, certainly not the second. People forget the second one when it comes to him, but that first one, gave up a bunch of yards, bunch of plays. It was not in fact, it was a bad defensive game plan. And I will continue to cite that as the main reason that he got lit up in that game, but he certainly did. And that's going to be one that sticks with him. And certainly as he's on the, just a couple of months away from the draft, that game is going to stick with him. But overall, you're talking 4-year starter at Ohio State. He was the first Ohio State defender to start an opener as a true freshman since Andy Katzenmoyer in 1996. So this is the company that and the accomplishment that he was able to do as a true freshman at a position at Ohio State that has normally been pretty deep, pretty good, pretty competitive. But as I said, when he got here, that's not necessarily that wasn't really the case. And they were thin and the recruiting was not good. And he was able to come in and make his mark. And so, last year, 48 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions, a physical defender, can mostly out there in the field, defending a wider area. And, like I said, had some good moments, had some great moments, had some rough moments, but now he's gone. And so how do they replace him? Davison Igbinosun returns. He'll now be a 3-year starter at Ohio State. Transferred in 2023 as a sophomore, started this year, and then, of course, in 2023, spent last year kind of on the boundary, on the short side of the field. Honestly, I don't know that there needs to be any change there. So then it becomes who steps in for Denzel Burke. And when you look at the candidates, the first candidate is Jermaine Mathews, who's going to be a junior this year. He got into the rotation in 2024 as a sophomore. He was viewed as a third cornerback, and it's like, well, he can play here and there, but by the end of the season, he was rotating in. And when somebody would need a break or there'd be a break planned, Jermaine Mathews would go in and he'd play well, and he's going to play well this season. So this is almost more about who replaces Jermaine Mathews, and can anybody actually replace Jermaine Mathews? Not just as the third corner, because let's be honest, Jermaine Mathews is going to be the second corner barring something unforeseen. So who then becomes the third corner? And when you look at the candidates there, you're talking, Aaron Scott, who's going to be a sophomore this year. He was the next guy in after Jermaine Mathews. Bryce West, redshirt freshman, who was the next guy in after Aaron Scott. And frankly, those two guys fluctuated a little bit in terms of who the next guy was in last year. Miles Lockhart is a guy that is probably going to stay at nickel, playing the slot. Lorenzo Styles Jr., probably going to stay in the slot. They need that nickel guy. True freshman Devin Sanchez is the number one corner in the 2025 recruiting class. He's already on campus. I wrote about him this past week. Everybody loves him for many, many reasons. He is the ideal cornerback prospect. And so he's on campus. They're going to be working. Spring ball is not too far away. Could he make a move? Could he get himself involved in this? I'd say doubt that guy at your own peril, but he does have some talented guys ahead of him, and certainly some confident guys ahead of him. And when you talk about Jermaine Mathews, Aaron Scott, and Bryce West playing that position, you're probably talking about 3 of the 5 most confident players on the team, and the other 2 would be probably Davis Igbinosun and Jeremiah Smith. So they're not just going to roll over and let a true freshman come in, but also Bryce West isn't going to just roll over and let Aaron Scott win the job. So it's going to be really, really competitive. I'm just fascinated to see if anybody can actually move into that rotation, because to me, that is the mark of a future star, where you have 2 established guys like Denzel Burke and Davis Igbinosun were established starters. And Jermaine Mathews said, I don't care. I'm playing. So can somebody else say that this year? Aaron Scott he expects himself to come in and be a starter. And when I say starter, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be starting. Jermaine Mathews, I think, maybe had 1 start because somebody was injured this year, but they considered him a starter. So can Aaron Scott do that? Bryce West, redshirted. He played 7 games last year, but was able to redshirt because 4 of those games were in the regular season, 3 were in the postseason. He's got some really good experience for being a redshirt freshman. And those 2 guys are going to push each other. Bryce West being a Glenville guy, Aaron Scott being a Springfield guy, 2 Ohioans that want to be a starting cornerback at Ohio State. So there's going to be a really interesting competition. And then, of course, Devin Sanchez, everybody's fascinated to see what he can do. But maybe I'm not spending enough time on Jermaine Mathews as the actual replacement on Denzel Burke, just because he's understood at this point. Like, there are no doubts about Jermaine Mathews. Now, can he hold up for an entire game? Can he be the guy that is always consistent? Because it's a lot tougher to do that than just coming in for 30 snaps and being fresh throughout the entire thing. What's he looking like on his 50th snap in the fourth quarter? So, can he avoid the lulls, or just, it only takes one bad moment to give up a big play. So can he stay locked in? I think that's a fair question, but I also think he's going to answer it. I expect him to be very, very good this year. I expect him to be the guy that replaces Denzel Burke. And like I said, the bigger question is, who can replace Jermaine Mathews? And really the real question is, can somebody? And then who would that person be? And there are some candidates, but it's a lot to ask one of these young guys to just come in and establish themselves as somebody that needs to be in the rotation. But the thing is, it doesn't have to happen by September. It didn't happen by September for Jermaine Mathews, even though they felt good about him. They played him last year. He started a couple games last year because of injuries. They love this dude. But they were still also not just throwing him into the games willy-nilly and for no reason. He gave them a reason eventually. So can somebody else do that? And again, it doesn't have to be by September. Shoot, it could be by December. Is there somebody playing that well that Tim Walton and Matt Guerreri are like, okay, well, he's one of our, he is playing well enough that he needs to be on the field, and he gives us an opportunity to rest a starter, a co-starter, and get out there. It's going to be fun to see how it goes. And so there you go. That's how Ohio State will replace Denzel Burke. They'll do it with Jermaine Mathews, and then we'll see what they do to replace Jermaine Mathews. And if you want to go ahead and hit the thumbs up on this video, I'd appreciate it. We got more of these videos coming, plenty of starters yet to talk about. I'm going to be talking about probably the running backs here coming up pretty soon. Do eventually need to touch on the defensive ends because that's going to be a big hole to fill. So hit the bell to be notified when we drop more videos. Just subscribe to the channel if you've not yet done so. And of course, continue to find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys later.